I don't support this. It's just that I don't think this is enough of a red line.
He knew that it was a female driver, and if they would have shot tires, she still would have drove off being irrational, emotional.
Oh,
So maybe
yeah,
he had to make
you are a despicable piece of shit.
Dean, we don't disagree, bro. We don't disagree.
Oh.
You're
Wow, beautiful. So
We
then
don't
you're no
disagree.
longer a Trump supporter. Today we have some insane breaking news. Sincerely, one of the most difficult stories that I've ever had to report to you guys has occurred. Earlier today in Minneapolis, ICE were in pursuit of a suspected undocumented immigrant. And while in pursuit, a woman was kind of pulling out of a parking spot, pulling out of her driveway, and was in the middle of the road. An American woman, an American citizen. She then tried to wave the ICE agents to go around her car. In the process, she tried to back up. The ICE agents then then stopped their car, got out of their car, walked up to her car, and were asking her to get out, in which she then tried to leave. While she was leaving the scene, one of the ICE agents pulled out their DHS-registered firearm and shot her 3 times in the head while they were in no position of a threat. The car was not angled towards them or heading towards them. They weren't in a position of imminent bodily harm. In fact, the ICE agent that shot her 3 times in the head and executed her in broad daylight was standing off to the side of her vehicle with the vehicle's tires pointing away from him. And then after she was murdered, the car then continued to roll in the opposite direction of the ICE agents until it hit a pole and stopped moving. But that's not all. There was a doctor on scene. The ICE agents refused to let the doctor see the woman. That's also not all. 15 minutes later, when an ambulance showed up, that ambulance was blocked by the agents' vehicles. And that's also not all, because after we've seen this all unfold, and by the way, the video is circulating the internet, Donald Trump and the Department of Homeland Security then put out a statement saying that that woman was a radical, violent, hateful leftist, and that it seemed to be self-defense on behalf of the ICE agent. That is false, and I can prove it. As you could tell, her vehicle was pointed away from the agent, leaving the scene. He was standing to the side of the vehicle, pulled out his gun, and shot her in the head. He was in no position of imminent bodily harm whatsoever. This is disgusting. This is disgraceful. This is mad. The Trump administration is asking you to deny the evidence of your eyes and ears. What we're seeing today is a propaganda machine unlike no other. They're asking you to deny your eyes that you could use to watch the video, acknowledge that the officer that shot her 3 times in the face was standing off to the side of the screen, asking you to deny your ears of listening to the video and hearing the screams and the chants of murder from the bystanders immediately following this daylight execution. Because what they want you to believe is that this was self-defense. This was not self-defense. There's no argument for self-defense. This was clearly murder. And in fact, we already have our very first Trump supporter of the day connected and loaded into the stream. If you've never been here before, we do debates. We talk to Trump supporters. We try to get more people to go from the pro-Trump side of history to the anti-Trump side of history, because it's common sense that we shouldn't be supporting a regime that acts like a wannabe dictator, murdering and then defending the murder of citizens in our own streets. And in fact, this first Trump supporter's name, or at least screen name, is Jesus Christ. And then their profile picture is an image of Jesus Christ. So it seems like they're Christians. So Mr. MAGA Christian, do you accept or reject that today an ICE agent murdered an American woman in broad daylight, and then that action was defended by the government and an administration that you support?
I can accept that it was murder. I don't know how well Trump just he called her like a radical leftist, the woman, or who did he call that?
Yeah, her and the person that was recording. You know, actually, this is a good time to go ahead and read through the message that he put out. Donald Trump says that the woman driving the car was very disorderly, obstructing and resisting, who then violently, willfully, and viciously ran over the ICE officer. That's just evidently false. I just showed you the clear screenshot of him being off to the side of her car, who seems to have shot her in self-defense. In fact, he goes on to say, based upon the attached clip, it is hard to believe that he is alive. I'm so sorry. This is propaganda. He was off to the side of the vehicle. The situation is being studied in its entirety, but the reason these incidents are happening is because the radical left is threatening, assaulting, and targeting our law enforcement officers and our ICE agents on a daily basis. They're trying to do the job of making America safe. We need to stand by and protect our law enforcement officers from this radical left movement of violence and hate. Let me just tell you real quick. That message in response to this event infuriates me. It genuinely pisses me off unlike no other. This is indefensible.
Yeah, I'm not going to defend that. That was a really, really stupid tweet. I mean, I typically don't read his tweets because I don't really like care about them because it's really, he's an incoherent old man. He does, I mean, but I still support his policies, even if he's
defending the murder of our citizens in daylight. Can we both agree that a fair red line to hold against any president is that if they support and defend the broad daylight execution of our own citizens, that they should not be in office?
I can agree that if a president were to, defend the obvious murder of a citizen, that they should get their social media privileges taken away.
Should they be in office? Can we just all agree? You know what? This is a question primarily to the guests on the live, but also a question to everyone watching, to every single person watching. Can we agree that if a president defends the broad daylight execution of a citizen under the guise that that citizen who was executed is a member of the radical left, a member of the political opposition to the party in which he represents, fueled by hatred and violence, just to bend the knee to the executor by saying that I'm surprised they're alive and we need to support them, that they should not be in office? Can we agree? It looks like I can agree with every single person in my chat, nearly every single person on my YouTube stream. Now, can you agree, guest?
I cannot agree.
That is the problem with America. This is why history is bound to repeat itself. This is how dictators become popular. This is how violent regimes become the core governance of any country. And it's because, for whatever reason, people like you will sit here and tell us all that you don't care if our president defends the broad daylight murder and execution of one of our own citizens under the guise of the fact that the person who was executed is a member of the political opposition. You say, I still want them in that office. Sir, you are preying on the downfall of America. You are advocating for the worst interests of us all. And the fact that this is still an action that you support makes you a terrible Christian who should turn around and repent to God at once.
I don't support this. It's just that I don't think this is enough of a red line. So
it's never enough of a red line. Pardoning the 174 people that tried to kill cops on the steps of our Capitol, then labeled them as patriots, wasn't enough of a red line. Having a court determine that he raped a woman wasn't enough of a red line. Define Congress in breaking federal law 5 times by not releasing the totality of the Epstein files and then illegally evading an explanation for the illegal redactions that he made wasn't a red line. Tell me, what would be a red line? Give me an example of a red line that you would hold against Trump. Because as it stands, I don't think you have any.
Under federal law, you cannot attack any law enforcement officers in any way, shape, or form. Okay? You cannot attack them. That is a federal crime. And these federal law enforcement officers, if you watch the video, there was one of them that walked up to the door and was trying to open up the door of the lady that was there. She had hit multiple cars coming up to where she was at, okay? And they tried to detain her. She tried to drive off, which is a federal crime when they were detaining her. That is a federal crime. She drove off in towards that officer. The officer had every right to defend themselves. every right. Now, I will say I feel bad for the family who lost their family member. I will say that. And I am sorry that they lost their family member. But you do not have the right to attack law enforcement. It is a federal crime. And here's the other thing, too. They're not called undocumented immigrants. They're called illegal immigrants under the law. And ICE is Immigration Customs Enforcement. Their job is to enforce the Immigration and Nationalization Act and Title VIII. And if you people don't like ICE, you don't go out there and attack them. Because if you watch the video after the cops were cleaning up all the stuff and leaving, the people that were around there were attacking them, throwing snowballs at them, which is a federal crime, kicking their vehicles, which is a federal crime. You do not have the right nor the authority to do that. Under the Constitution, you have the right to peacefully assemble. You do not have the right to attack law enforcement. That is a federal crime, and they will and have every right to defend themselves. If you're stupid enough to attack law enforcement, they will defend themselves. They have every right.
Is Donald Trump defending the bold-faced daylight execution of an American citizen or not?
He is defending what was what Christian stated, someone who was going to use a vehicle to strike an officer, so that was a form of domestic terrorism.
That can't be possibly true. That can't be possibly true. Here is a still frame screenshot from the moment the ICE agent fired his first shot. That vehicle, is it heading towards the officer to strike him? Or is it heading away from the officer to flee?
Dean, I hate to say it, you're not going to like my answers and you're just going to automatically call me troll. If I'm being honest, it's because he knew that it was a female driver, and if they would have shot tires, she still would have drove off being irrational, emotional.
Oh,
so maybe
yeah,
he had to make...
You are a despicable piece of shit. You are bottom of the barrel. In fact, you are so despicable that I'm not even going to waste my energy on telling you how just despicable you are. And I'm going to kick you from the live.
I can't even defend that, honestly. I really have nothing to say on that, apart from, not that I don't say I don't support the president anymore, but I 100% don't support that. And I definitely have now questions. Not that I didn't have questions before, but I have more questions now about his character than ever before. And like I said, he should have definitely paid his respects to that family. I don't know if he did or not. Like I said, I couldn't see the full tweet.
Okay,
so
this isn't like a rhetorical or metaphorical question. What I'm about to ask you is a literal question, okay? Why isn't this enough to stop supporting him?
Because like I said, I mean, not that you should ever compare and contrast the two issues or weigh one against the other, but what he did for Venezuela and what he did there, I think is just a testament to, how well he can, if he's put into position to make some tough decisions, how well he can execute those decisions. I don't know what direct impact he had on, and again, I would like to clarify, I'm not defending what happened with the ICE situation, but I don't know what...
Okay. So if he didn't go into Venezuela, then this would be enough for you to stop supporting him. Is that what you're saying?
Borderline, yes. Probably.
Okay.
But again, I'm not weighing the two.
So then if I could convince you that him going into Venezuela was a bad thing, you no longer support Trump as president.
Yeah, but I don't think you can convince me of that.
Do you accept that the president is defending a bold-faced execution of an American citizen in broad daylight?
Yeah. I'll meet you in the middle. I'll say yes. Yeah, I think the enforcement officer could have shot somewhere else or anywhere else besides where he did shoot.
I don't think he had a right to shoot at all because he wasn't in imminent threat or danger of bodily harm.
I heard that the same officer was dragged by a vehicle back in June, and vehicular slaughter is a usual thing with ICE agents.
Look at this photo. This is a screen grab from the video when his first shot rang off. Is that officer an imminent threat of danger or bodily harm caused by that vehicle, or is that vehicle going in the opposite direction of the officer?
It's going in the opposite direction.
Thank you.
Obviously, what happened today, I don't know if you've discussed this in detail with other guests yet. The unaliving of an individual based on what happened is absurd. There was no reason that any shot should have been fired in that scenario. I don't think that the ICE agent was in imminent danger. I watched the video over and over. I don't know whether that individual was stalled in the road blocking agents or pulling out and was just taking their sweet time looking both ways. I don't know. Either way, it's irrelevant. I don't think that anyone should have been unalived. So that's that.
Hypothetically, if Donald Trump did want that person
Yeah.
to get off scot-free, would you still support Trump?
No.
Okay, so you just said that the possible defense that one can employ here is that Donald Trump was misinformed because Donald Trump didn't see the video. So I don't think that you even read Donald Trump's statements and remarks on the subject matter. Because the first line of his statement...
Did I say that I did?
Yeah, no, I'm assuming that you didn't. Because his first line in the statement is, quote unquote, I have just viewed the clip of the event, which took place in Minneapolis, Minnesota. It is a horrible thing to watch. The woman recording was screaming, obviously professional agitator, and the woman in the car was very disorderly, obstructing, resisting, who then violently, willfully, and viciously ran over the ICE officer, who seemed to have shot her in self-defense. Based on the attached clip, it's hard to believe that the ICE agent is alive, but is now recovering in the hospital. The situation is being studied in its entirely, but the reason why these incidents are happening is because the radical left is threatening, assaulting, and targeting our law enforcement officers and ICE agents on a daily basis. They're just trying to do the job of making America safe. We need to stand by and protect our law enforcement officers from this radical left movement of violence and hate. First and foremost, in accordance with your own logic, okay, one would now understand that yes, Donald Trump does want him to go off scot-free because your defense of the alternative was maybe he was misinformed and hadn't seen the video. We already know that he has seen the video and still thinks that we should stand by that officer and that the person who was shot in self-defense and she's a radical, crazy, leftist lunatic filled with violence and hate because that's what he said, all right? At the end, he says, we need to stand by and protect our law enforcement officers. We need to stand by the person that executed the woman. In the middle, she was obstructing, disorderly, resisting, violently, willfully, and then viciously ran the ICE officer over. Once again in the middle, it was self-defense. Okay, right? Like, and then in the close to the last statement there, this is all happening because the left is threatening, assaulting, and targeting our law enforcement officers and ICE agents on a daily basis. Then if you go look at the DHS Twitter, they posted a full fucking soliloquy about how it's in self-defense and they stand by that agent.
We don't disagree, bro. We don't disagree. You're
wow, beautiful. So then you're no longer a Trump supporter. Thanks.
I don't no. I'm not.
So the murder thing, I'm not saying that he's okay with it. Obviously killing somebody is wrong, but I mean, put yourself in the ICE agent's shoes, right? Obviously, ICE, I feel like there's some good and bad with them, obviously. But
Yeah.
put yourself in your shoes, all right?
Yeah, I'll do this. I'll put myself in the ICE
And
agent's
you're
shoes.
about to
What's
get
wrong?
ran over. Okay, you're about to get ran over, right?
I have a question.
How are you going to defend that?
This is a still shot from the moment he fired his first bullet. How is he about to get ran over?
There's other angles that show him, like, in different area.
No,
This is the Fox News angle.
what they show is him standing in front of the car, then being bumped by the top left bumper while the driver is trying to go away. But by the time he had his gun out and fired those 3 shots into her head and murdered her, he was no longer in any position of peril/harm's way. My evidence is the screenshot you are looking at on your phone screen. So please answer my question. It is important. The moment he pulled out his gun and pulled the trigger and killed her, was he in harm's way?
Not at that time, no.
So you are now agreeing
I feel like, yeah.
that the moment he pulled the trigger 3 times and murdered her, he was not in harm's way.
Yeah, but
It is
I feel like,
absolutely
why would you,
indefensible to murder somebody by shooting them in the head 3 times when you're not in harm's way. If you want to defend
I know,
that
but
premise,
why blame Trump, though?
you are a sad, sick piece of shit. And what am I blaming Trump for? I'm blaming Trump for defending
why are you blaming
him.
Trump?
I'm blaming Trump for saying that we should stand with him. I'm blaming Trump for saying it's glory that he's alive. I'm blaming Trump, okay, for saying that it's self-defense. I'm blaming Trump for turning around and saying, well, what causes this is the radical, crazy, hateful, violent leftists, like the person who's driving that car, was shot 3 times and murdered. And I'm blaming Trump for helping to create the environment where these things are to be permitted.
How do you feel if your family is from America, right, born and raised, and they get raped and killed by someone from Mexico illegally not here?
You understand this person was a U.S. citizen, right?
What the fuck? Wait, you're trying to blame...
What are you talking about?
Wait, I'm so sorry. What is this sad attempt, Corey? So you're saying that because, we could probably identify a couple undocumented immigrants that have raped and murdered American citizens, therefore it's okay for ICE to execute American citizens in broad daylight. Honestly, I honestly think that this is a really telling point that you're making here, because it demonstrates your baseless hypocrisy and very selective empathy. Okay,
Look, bro,
Lindsay.
I'm gonna just say the lady, bro, she deserved to die, bro. That was ICE, bro. She deserved to be murdered, bro.
Why so?
Bro, did you not see the clip? Like, that officer had every right to end her life.
And why is that?
She was stopping the ICE agents from trying to arrest migrants, bro.
Let's assume that she was. Why does that justify murder?
Why does it justify murder? Because she's stopping law enforcement from doing their job.
Yeah, but why does that justify murder? Assuming that
why
she
is
was,
it-
which by the way she wasn't, because the video clearly shows her car being in that position prior to the ICE truck rolling up, and then when the ICE truck did roll up, she signaled them around her. So she wasn't. But even if, right, she did impede upon their official duties, why would that justify her death?
Bro, like I said, she was stopping ICE, bro, from doing their job.
I mean, I just disproved that, okay? But assuming that she was impeded upon their official duties, the question isn't to repeat yourself, but rather to explain yourself. Why would that justify murder?
She should have just stopped, bro. She should have stopped her car
So you're
right
just
then and
not
there.
answering my question.
I guess I know that she's panicking.
Well, so if I were to
I
go,
am answering your question,
if I were to go to
I
a
get
bar,
that.
then I would get murdered at that bar. The fact that I shouldn't have gone to the bar wouldn't justify my murder. So I have another question. How many continents are there?
There are 8.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh
how
my
many branches?
God.
How many branches of government are there?
3.
Okay, what are they?
Judicial, executive, and legislation.
Legislation. It's legislative. Okay, and how many amendments are there to the Constitution?
I have no clue.
All right. And what's the what's the freezing point in Fahrenheit?
Could you repeat that again?
What's the freezing point in Fahrenheit?
Is it Celsius?
Yes, the freezing point in Fahrenheit is Celsius. So the reason why I asked him those questions is because I just want y'all to see how detrimental indoctrinated idiots are to this country. I believe that he believed every word that he said. I don't think that he's a rage-baiting troll. I think that he's being honest about how he felt. This is why putting a preface of importance onto critical thought is just about as important as it can get. Okay? Like the lack of cognitive function and critical thought in our society is a national emergency that needs to be addressed. Because if we don't address it, then we're going to continue to have a base level of cult supporters of Trump's, okay, prop up and defend things like what we saw today, heinous murder.